E boa noite, sejam todos bem-vindos à 10ª edição do Your Voice, o concurso cultural de discursos da cultura inglesa. Eu sou o João Aveiro, representando o time acadêmico-cultural da cultura inglesa, e é um enorme prazer estar aqui com vocês hoje para celebrar essa fase tão importante da competição, a semifinal. Bom, criado em 2014, o Your Voice chega à sua 10ª edição esse ano, com o objetivo de valorizar a comunicação oral, ajudando os estudantes da cultura inglesa a expressarem suas ideias com confiança e a se prepararem para falar em público. É uma oportunidade incrível de pesquisa, troca cultural e crescimento, incentivando cada participante a se tornar um agente de transformação por meio do compartilhamento de suas ideias. Nesta edição, recebemos mais de 900 inscritos, 900 estudantes que toparam se desafiar e se superar, escrevendo um discurso autoral em inglês sobre um tema complexo. Todos os discursos desta edição precisam abordar o tema Echoes of Change, Confronting Climate Crisis, que em português seria equivalente a Ecos da Mudança, Enfrentando a Crise Climática. Na primeira fase do concurso, os candidatos gravaram e enviaram seus discursos em vídeo, os quais foram avaliados por um júri com a difícil missão de selecionar apenas 128 para a semifinal. Ou seja, todos que chegaram até aqui já são grandes vencedores e, sem dúvida, evoluíram muito ao longo de todo o processo da competição. E, bom, aqui na competição vocês verão alunos da cultura inglesa e das escolas parceiras da cultura inglesa, dos estados de São Paulo, Santa Catarina, Bahia, Rio de Janeiro, Rio Grande do Sul, Distrito Federal, Goiás, Tocantins e Espírito Santo, indo do nível de inglês básico ao intermediário e ao avançado também. No Your Voice, os candidatos são divididos em 8 categorias diferentes, de acordo com o nível de inglês de cada um. Cada candidato concorre, portanto, somente com aqueles que estão inscritos na mesma categoria. E nesta sessão de agora, se apresentarão primeiro os candidatos da categoria 3 e depois os candidatos da categoria 8. A apresentação das duas categorias acontecerá na sequência, uma da outra, e o resultado das categorias será anunciado de uma só vez no final da sessão de hoje. As regras de duração e número de perguntas que cada um responde após discursar mudam um pouco de acordo com a categoria. Então, daqui a pouco eu vou repassar com vocês as regras de cada uma delas. Bom, o evento de hoje é uma das 8 semifinais do concurso. O concurso possui semifinal A e semifinal B, sendo que a semifinal A acontecerá de segunda a quinta desta semana, então começamos ontem com a primeira semifinal, e a semifinal B acontecerá na segunda a quinta da semana que vem, então serão 2 semanas de semifinais. De cada dia de evento, serão selecionados 3 participantes de cada categoria para a grande final, que vai ser realizada no dia 23 de novembro, no próximo mês, que será um sábado. Ou seja, após os términos das apresentações de hoje, nós teremos 3 participantes de cada categoria, da categoria 3 e da categoria 8, que já estarão com vagas garantidas na grande final, do dia 23 de novembro. E quem decidirá quais participantes seguirão na competição são as juradas Adriana e Débora, representando o nosso time acadêmico da cultura inglesa, que estão conosco já aqui no backstage. Elas avaliarão todos os discursos apresentados aqui hoje e, após as apresentações, se reunirão para chegar ao grande veredito. Bom, ao término do evento, após anunciar os 3 finalistas de cada categoria, nossas juradas também se encontrarão rapidamente com eles aqui na sala virtual para dar uma rápida devolutiva a cada participante, apontando alguns pontos que poderão ser aprimorados para a fase final. Importante, pedimos então que os candidatos cujos nomes forem anunciados como finalistas retornem para a sala do Google Meet, onde nos encontramos previamente, para receber essa devolutiva. Quem não quiser ou não puder participar e ficar até o fim, para receber essa devolutiva não tem problema, porque é opcional. Mas nesse caso, a pessoa perderá a oportunidade de receber esse feedback, ok? Então, bom, vamos repassar algumas informações importantes antes da gente começar com os discursos de hoje. Primeiro, João, eu estou com dúvidas sobre o evento, alguma informação sobre o Your Voice, onde eu posso encontrar? No site do Your Voice. No nosso site, o site oficial da competição, vocês encontram todos os detalhes do evento. Então, lá tem a FAQ, tem todas as etapas, as fases, as datas, os links, tudo está concentrado por lá. Se mesmo assim ainda restar alguma dúvida, vocês podem entrar em contato com o e-mail que tem lá também, que é o e-mail onde a gente responde todas as dúvidas de vocês. Então, fiquem à vontade para nos contatar lá em casos de dúvida também. Teremos o maior prazer em ajudá-los. Bom, nós da organização do evento, os candidatos e candidatas estamos juntos dentro de uma plataforma virtual e o evento está sendo transmitido através do YouTube também, onde vocês estão acompanhando. Então, interajam conosco. Tem um chat aí no YouTube, então podem mandar a sua torcida, reforçando só mensagens positivas para a gente manter um clima positivo aqui e acolhedor para todos os participantes também. Então, nada de ofensas aqui para a gente manter esse nível do Your Voice que a gente precisa tanto. Então, conto com a torcida de vocês para apoiar os nossos candidatos da noite. Certo? Então, vamos lá. Antes de começarmos as apresentações, nós fizemos um sorteio aqui no backstage. Né? Então, enquanto estávamos com os participantes, e a ordem de apresentação de cada categoria já foi definida. Estamos colocando neste momento aqui no chat para vocês acompanharem e saberem a ordem de apresentação dos candidatos. Primeiro com a categoria 3 e depois com a categoria 8. Se a conexão de algum participante falhar durante a apresentação ou cair, seguiremos com as próximas apresentações. No entanto, enquanto o bloco de apresentações estiver em andamento, daremos novas oportunidades para que o participante restabeleça a conexão e se apresente novamente. A duração estipulada para os discursos da categoria 3, que é a que começaremos, é de 1 minuto para cada candidato, mas há uma margem de tolerância também. Então, os candidatos desta categoria precisam apresentar um discurso que dure entre 30 segundos e 1 minuto e 30 segundos. Temos aqui uma timekeeper, que é a Vanessa, que controlará a duração dos discursos e fará soar um sinal como este aqui, para alertar o candidato sobre a duração de seu discurso. O sinal será tocado quando o candidato atingir, primeiramente, 30 segundos, depois, novamente, quando atingir 1 minuto, e, por fim, uma última vez, quando ele atingir 1 minuto e 30 segundos. O candidato que terminar seu discurso antes de 30 segundos ou depois de 1 minuto e 30 segundos poderá ser penalizado na avaliação. Bom, após o término da apresentação, os candidatos respondem a perguntas e cada categoria possui uma regra específica quanto a isso, como eu disse anteriormente. No caso dessa primeira categoria, que é a categoria 3, os candidatos responderão a uma pergunta que será feita pelo nosso júri. Começaremos, então, agora com a categoria 3, e na sequência teremos as apresentações da categoria 8. Antes de iniciar a categoria 8, relembro novamente vocês sobre as diferenças, as regras desta categoria, ok? Bom, vamos começar então. Já falei bastante aqui, agora está na hora dos discursos, né? Então, muito obrigado a todos pela audiência, obrigado a todos os candidatos por terem chegado até aqui. E agora vamos começar com as apresentações. E seguindo a ordem do sorteio da categoria 3, gostaria de chamar a nossa primeira candidata da noite. Então, por favor, venha ao palco do Your Voice, Maria Eduarda Gonçalves Leme. Maria Eduarda, está por aí?
Sim, estou sim.
Tá, então, Maria, áudio funcionando, tudo certinho, respira fundo e pode falar o seu discurso.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Eduarda. I'm 17 years old, and I'm a student at the Montessori Cosmos. I would like to start with a quote from the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. He said, "Man has made the earth a hell for animals." This quote related to with the fires and all the destruction the world has been currently facing. We have seen that the destroying biodiversity and the habitat of many animals. And we know that the responsibility the all destruction, are us. and without biodiversity, we are at risk. Really? If, anyway, with the fires happening in Amazon and other cities in São Paulo state, show we aren't careful with something so important for us, and that's why future generations must to strive to change the world and making saving and saving the animals, taking care of nature and using more sustainability, and bringing the earth back to life. And that's why. Thank you so much.
Muito obrigado, Maria, pelo seu discurso. E agora vamos à pergunta de nossa jurada, Débora. Débora, com você.
Hello, Maria Eduarda. Why is it important to protect biodiversity?
Nature is so important for us because we depending the dam for resources and anything like water, and anything so recurs so important for us. And without their recurs, we could start with a crazy the world.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Muito obrigado, Maria. Muito obrigado, Débora, pela pergunta. E agora vamos à nossa próxima candidata da noite. Então, gostaria de chamar agora a Vitória Xavier da Silva. Olá, Vitória, tudo bem? Está ouvindo?
Sim.
Áudio funcionando, tudo certo. Então, Vitória, pode começar o seu discurso. Boa sorte.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vitória. I'm 17 years old, and I study in Dom Bosco, Santo André. First, I want to talk about what the climate change, because it's the topic of the concourse. I think, in my opinion, climate change, the difference of climates of a specific place, like so hot or so cold, and I think it's our responsibility to take care about it. Like we can search for better ways and better habits for take care the energy, the water, because these things important in our days, but we don't take care how we don't take care right of this. Also, we have to take care of our environment and take for the future generation a better environment, a better world, because we need this and the future need too, because it's important that we can search to bus to transmit this for the peoples in our life and do the better habits of transports of these things, and that's it. Thanks.
Muito obrigado, Vitória. Agora gostaria de chamar a nossa outra jurada, Adriana Gouveia, para fazer a pergunta.
Hello, Vitória. Thanks for your speech. Vitória, what do you do to save water?
I do in my routine. I try to separate the water for use the right way, like the clean water. I try to don't disperse like the in the shower. I don't stay a lot of time and cleaning dishes and that things.
Thank you, Vitória.
Muito obrigado, Vitória, pelo discurso, Adriana, pela pergunta. E vamos então com a nossa sequência aqui da noite, com o nosso terceiro candidato, Chago Bocelli. Chago, tá por aí?
Oi, tá todo mundo ouvindo?
Opa, Chago, sim, estou ouvindo. Chago, boa sorte, pode começar o seu discurso.
Hey, what's up? I'm 17 years old, I'm from Osasco, and I study in Sevilla. Okay, let's go. In my point of view, the topic is extremely important for us and for international organizations around the world, like ONS and the ONU, for example. But why? because the climate change is caused, for example, by the global warming and the fires on our planet, and the consequences are terrible for everybody. Like you lost the biodiversity. Um, in my point of view, what I think is the only way to improve the situations is to use renewable energy and recycle thought examples that provide social actions that can change and save the world, the planet.
Perfeito, Tiago. Muito obrigado. Agora eu vou chamar a nossa jurada Débora, que fará a pergunta sobre o seu discurso. Débora?
Hi, Chago. What do you do to save energy at home?
I think that, for example, the energy that the sun have, for example, is one energy, for example, that have in more cities. And so I have a grandfather, and he used the energy, the renewable energy. I think I I don't use for, but I think that is so cool. The people have use, but I say when I say renewable energy is one point just have 1 billion of points, for example the water, so is this.
Thank you.
Obrigado, Tiago. Obrigado, Débora. Vamos então com a sequência do sorteio. Então temos a quarta candidata da noite, Maria Fernanda de Souza Solana. Maria, está por aí?
Oi, tá conseguindo me ouvir?
Sim, estamos ouvindo. Então, Maria, por favor, pode começar o seu discurso.
Hello, I am Maria Fernanda and I will talk about climate crisis. So, as we know, climate problems cause various effects around the world, such as global warming, which harms the natural balance of the nature. Besides, there's a lot of people that are moving away from their countries and getting really sick because of the climate changes. But why is this happening? One of the biggest reasons is human action, as we pollute and also deforest. So, what can we do? We need to be aware of our actions and do what we can to not make the problematic situation even worse than it is. So, as an example for this idea, there's a quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger that states, "Climate change is not science fiction. This is a real world battle that impacts us right now." Finally, thinking about this theme, this topic, this idea, let's join hands and do what we can to make a better future possible. Well, thank you for the attention.
Muito obrigado, Maria Fernanda. Agora chamo a jurada Adriana para fazer a pergunta.
Hi, Maria Fernanda. Thanks for your speech. What kind of small actions do you think you can include in your routine to make a better future?
Well, thank you for the question. And me and my family, we try to recycle things like products and materials to do new things. We try to separate trash too, to not, you know, make the problematic situation even worse. We try to save water, we try to save energy, and we try to save trash.
Thank you, Maria Fernanda.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Maria, Adriana. E seguindo aqui a nossa sequência, vamos com Lorena Evangelista de Souza. Lorena, tá por aí?
Tô sim, tudo jóia?
Tudo certo. Lorena, pode começar o seu discurso.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Let us pray for the cry of the earth. A phrase said by Pope Francisco a few days ago brings a reflection that seems like a cliché. But if not listened to, the outcome can be even worse. The earth shows signs of fatigue every day, such as natural catastrophes, temperature fluctuations, droughts, and etc. Where we are, serve the consequences. Irresponsible and disrespectful habits with the planet aggravate the sad reality every day. The earth is sick. But what can we do to reverse this reality? We know the urgency of action and measures to be taken, but the main now is reduction of carbon emissions by controlling global warming. One solution is clean energy. Always put nature and people at center of climate action as they are the victims who suffer the most from disasters. And finally, to inspire new attitudes in society that need to learn to treat our environment in a sensible and emotional way. Thank you.
Muito bem, Lorena. Agora vamos à pergunta da nossa jurada, Débora.
Hello, Lorena.
Hello.
Can you give me examples of clean energy, please?
The clean energy is solar and the sorry, I forget the word.
Okay.
In my house, for example, I making in projects by the energy solar. In the next week, they start in the project in the house for the solar energy.
Thank you.
Obrigado, Débora. Obrigado, Lorena. E dando sequência, vamos com o discurso de Isabella Ferreira Veloso. Oi, Isabela, tá ouvindo?
Tá me ouvindo?
Sim, estamos ouvindo. Isabela, fique à vontade.
Obrigada. Hi everyone, I'm Isabella Veloso. I'm 16 and I'm a student at Dom Bosco, Santo André. I'm going to talk about today the high temperature that are affecting our planet and our biodiversity. And first of all, I want to talk about the main causes of this climate change. I think it's the deforestation, and 9.9% of the scientists think that this is because of the human actions, and it's already there. And I think it's about industry too, because industry is using our nature our to make money, and they are not worrying about our health and the environment. And the ice is melting, so the sea level is becoming rising, and coastal cities are disappearing, as we see in Venice and a lot of other cities. And we have also the acid rain and acid ocean that are affecting the water biodiversity. And I think we have to care about it, and we need to speak about it, and we need to try something to stop or even to avoid. And that's it.
Ótimo, Isabela, obrigado. Agora vamos à pergunta de nossa jurada, Adriana.
Hi, Isabella. Thanks for your speech. Isabella, what can we do as a society to fight deforestation?
We have to talk about it. It's one of the most important topics, and I think that we should plant more trees. We need to water our plants. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. We need to care about it. We need to speak about it, and I think that's it.
Thank you, Isabella.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Isabela. Obrigado, Adriana. Então, vamos seguir com a nossa sequência aqui, agora com Charlotte Fernanda, nossa sétima candidata da noite. Charlotte, está ouvindo?
Yes. Hello. Good afternoon.
Ouvindo também. Pode começar o seu discurso.
Okay. Our planet is getting hotter, and that's not normal. The main culprit is us, with the burning of fossil fuels. But the good news is that we can change this story. How? It's simple. Save energy, use less water, and buy sustainable products, and encourage your friends to do the same. Every small actions counts toward a greener future. And remember, change starts with us. Just.
Muito obrigado, Charlotte. Agora vamos à pergunta de nossa jurada, Débora.
Hello, Charlotte.
Hello.
What do you do to reduce plastic use?
Plastic use. Well, I believe that we need to start with the micro and first, and the macro, because how I say, attitudes such as control in how can I say, using products and oh my god,
That's okay,
sorry.
Charlotte. Keep going.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm nervous.
That's okay. Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Charlotte. Obrigado, Débora. E agora vamos à nossa última candidata da categoria 3. Então, por favor, Maria Luísa da Silva Teixeira, venha ao palco do Your Voice. Maria, está ouvindo?
Tô sim, vocês estão me ouvindo?
Está ouvindo, tudo certo. Maria, com você.
Obrigada. My name is Maria Luisa, and I'm from Colleges Univap Vila Branca, and I'm going to talk about the climate change. The climate change is a long-term change in global weather that have come to define Earth's climate, according to NASA. The most famous example of climate change is the global warming, and the global warming is the increase in Earth's temperature caused by the emissions of the greenhouse gases. But now, knowing about this, how can you help to avoid climate change? Here are some ideas. You can change your home's source of energy by a renewable one. You can walk by bike or take public transport to control the emissions of these pollutant gases. You can apply the 4 R's: reduce, reuse, repair, and recycle. And lastly, and obviously, you should speak it up to incentivize the others to take an action. Remember, you can make the difference. Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Maria. E agora vamos à pergunta de nossa jurada, Adriana.
Hi, Maria Louisa. Thanks for your speech. How about you? What do you do in your routine to reduce, reuse, and recycle?
Well, I always try to turn off the lights in rooms that I'm not in, and I try to turn off the chargers when they are not in use. I also try to recycle and use returnable plastic bottles. These are kind of simple things that I do.
Thank you, Maria Louisa.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Adriana. Muito obrigado, Maria. Então, finalizamos agora os nossos discursos da categoria 3 do Your Voice. Né? Então, gostaria de parabenizar a todos os candidatos, né? Competição de altíssimo nível aqui. As juradas vão ter bastante trabalho para decidir, né? Mas parabenizar a todos por terem chegado até aqui, porque não é fácil, é uma longa jornada, e aí fazendo discurso na frente de muita gente, é realmente um grande desafio, mas parabéns a todos por terem chegado até aqui. Tenho certeza que a plateia também adorou de acompanhar esses discursos. E agora, neste momento, daremos início às apresentações da categoria 8. E somente ao término das apresentações da categoria 8 que o nosso júri sairá para a deliberação. Então, retornará com o resultado das duas categorias de uma só vez no final, ok? Bom, então vamos lá. A categoria 8 é um pouquinho diferente das outras categorias do Your Voice, porque ela já é uma etapa preparatória para quem quiser participar em 2025 do maior concurso de discursos do mundo, the ISU, International Public Speaking Competition, que é uma competição internacional que reúne jovens de 16 a 20 anos com nível avançado de inglês, de mais de 50 países. É uma experiência de intercâmbio cultural sem igual. E, bom, tudo isso em mente, aplicamos aqui no Your Voice para esta categoria as mesmas regras aplicadas lá na competição internacional. Então, a duração estipulada para os discursos da categoria 8 é de 5 minutos para cada candidato. Levando em conta a margem de tolerância que em todas as categorias nós temos, os candidatos dessa categoria precisam apresentar um discurso que dure entre 4 minutos e 30 segundos até 5 minutos e 30 segundos. A nossa timekeeper, a Vanessa, fará soar o aviso sonoro que vocês ouviram nos primeiros discursos, quando o candidato atingir, primeiramente, os 4 minutos e 30, depois, novamente, quando atingir 5 minutos, e, por fim, uma última vez, quando atingir 5 minutos e 30 segundos. O candidato que terminar antes de 4 minutos e meio ou depois de 5 minutos e meio poderá ser penalizado no momento da avaliação. Bom, após o término da apresentação, os candidatos da categoria 8 responderão a 2 perguntas. As perguntas podem ser feitas tanto pelo nosso júri, quanto pelos outros candidatos da categoria 8 presentes aqui na sala, no nosso backstage. Então, vamos lá? Seguindo a ordem do sorteio aqui, gostaria de chamar a nossa primeira candidata da categoria 8. Então, por favor, venha ao palco do Your Voice, Beatrice Sampaio Araújo. Beatriz, está por aí?
Estou aqui.
Está aqui, ouvindo, falando tudo certo? Então, Beatriz, pode começar o seu discurso. Boa sorte.
Hello, my name is Beatrice, and today I'm going to discuss a topic that's very important because it affects us in every aspect of life, and that is climate crisis. First of all, what is climate crisis? Climate crisis is an expression that has been used to highlight the environmental situation of the planet, referring to climate change. These changes are variations in precipitation, cloudiness, and global average temperature. But how are those important factors? Current climate researches indicate that increasing temperatures will intensify the Earth's water cycle, increasing evaporation. With the increase of evaporation, there will be stronger and more frequent storms, as well as drier land areas. Now, cloudiness's role in the climate system. Clouds efficiently reflect light to space, contributing to the cooling of the planet, as well as trapping remaining heat at night. This way, cloudiness plays an important role in the energetic balance of the atmosphere, and a variation of it is a factor and consequence of and onto the climate change. Although the Earth has already experienced changes in climate, extreme climate change is happening expeditiously. This time, it is not related to natural causes, but to human activity directly. Now, how did everything start? Since the start of the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century, Earth's average temperature has risen faster than ever before, an effect known as global warming. Global warming is the long-term warming of the planet's overall temperature, and it is caused by the burning of fossil fuels, such as coal, oil, and gas, which produce gases that trap heat. As we know, tons of carbon dioxide are released into the atmosphere every year as a result of coal, oil, and gas production, intensifying the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is the process through which heat is trapped near Earth's surface by substances known as greenhouse gases. The intensification of the greenhouse effect and global warming affects our planet and our lives directly. Now, how does it affect us? Glaciers and ice sheets in polar and mountain regions are already melting faster than ever, causing sea levels to rise. Rising sea levels are causing devastating floods in many countries. These floods are not only a direct hazard to humans, but can also destroy crops and farms that have thrived for centuries, making food security more and more precarious. Almost two-thirds of the world's cities with populations of over 5 million are located in areas at risk of sea level rise, and almost 40% of the world's population live within 100 kilometers of a coast. Disasters related to climate and weather change have always been a part of our Earth system. However, they are becoming stronger and more numerous as the world increases its temperature. In Brazil, human activity is responsible for 99% of forest fires. In August of 2024 alone, there were 13,600 outbreaks, a rate that exceeded the one recorded from January to July of this same year. These fires are causing direct damage to the fauna and flora in Brazil, causing many species to be extinct, reducing our soil's fertility, and compromising air quality, causing many respiratory diseases. Nevertheless, it isn't too late to change our Earth's destiny. Many behavioral changes in us humans can help reduce the climate crisis. We can start by energy saving, walking, using bikes or any public transportation to reduce the gas emission, recycling, using renewable energy sources, not wasting food, and many more things can be done. Something that I consider to be very important is to also educate people from a young age on the importance of nature and how it affects them in many aspects of life, including nature and things that are related to nature, and saving it in classes and in schools is going to save our planet one day. Of course, it isn't going to be an easy or fast process, but we have to make this planet a better one for the many generations that are still yet to come. That's it. Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Beatriz, pelo seu discurso. Agora eu gostaria de chamar a primeira jurada para a pergunta, que é a jurada Débora.
Hello, Beatrice. Good evening.
Hi.
You were talking about education at the end of your speech, right? How can the education system be improved to raise awareness about climate change among future generations, and especially in younger children, younger students?
I think that this theme is discussed very superficially, and it's mostly something that's not very talked about, and it's something that don't really show how it affects us. And I think that it should be something that they show us the evidence, what is happening to our world, how can we change.
Okay, thank you.
Muito obrigado, Débora. E agora vamos à segunda pergunta para a Beatriz. E como eu disse anteriormente, a categoria 8 também abrimos as perguntas para os próprios candidatos. Então, gostaria de chamar aqui Suria Nogueira para fazer a pergunta para a Beatriz.
Hi, Bia. What do you think industries can do to make products that they can consider environment? What do you think about it?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? It kind of lagged, so I couldn't really understand.
Okay. What do you think that industries can do to make products that can consider environment? What do you think they can do to make products that can be better for the environment?
I think that mainly focusing on the energy sources that they're using to produce the things that they are doing. Also, there should be more products that are available that are more sustainable. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Beatriz. Muito obrigado, Suria, pela pergunta. E agora, dando sequência, a Suria vai voltar para cá, porque ela é a segunda da noite. Então, Suria, por favor, venha ao palco do Your Voice. Agora é o seu momento de fazer o discurso. Áudio funcionando, tudo certo?
Yes, thank you.
Então vamos lá, bom discurso.
Firstly, thank you for the opportunity. So let's go ahead. Empty words, false promises, and money. This is all what leaders think. I always hear that I am the world's future. How dare you? We are all close to death, animals, plants, and the entire environment. And you put this responsibility to us? We are young. We can change the world if you prepare us correctly. Don't you think that the time is almost over to reflect about climate changes? At that time, we passed the highest temperature ever recorded. The global average temperature of the last 60 months between June 2023 and May 2024 is the highest ever recorded, having reached 1.63 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average of 1,800 1,850 to 1,900. And you know how? Because of us, we are ignorant, we are selfish, and disrespectful. Glaciers are melting during 50 years. The biggest extinction of animals is happening in front of us, and we just keep living our lives. We are destroying what makes us alive. The greenhouse effect is what we call this perfect system of living. Part of the solar energy that reaches Earth is reflected back into space, and part is absorbed by the planet's surface and ocean, warming them. Gases such as carbon dioxide and methane build up in the atmosphere, acting like a blanket that traps the sun's heat, preventing it from returning to space. The accumulation of these gases, the temperature of the atmosphere and the oceans increases, which leads to global warming. However, due to human activities that emit greenhouse gases, the layer that retains heat has become increasingly thick, which has increased global temperatures. Okay, now we know about how bad it is, how bad our planet is going to be in the future. But I'm gonna say now some consequences of greenhouse effect. Well, some of them are melting of polar ice caps and rising sea levels, worsening food security, extinction of species and damage to ecosystems, water scarcity in some regions, floods, and health problems. Have you ever thought that we are harming even ourselves? Air pollution is an important health risk factor, which can cause respiratory, cardiovascular problems, lung cancer, among others. Exposure to polluting gases and fine particulates can be worsen pre-existing respiratory illnesses such as asthma and bronchitis. The World Health Organization, WHO, estimates that more than 99% of the world's population breathes air that does not meet recommended levels. A study by the Brazilian Ministry of Health found that the number of deaths from air pollution increased by 14% in 10 years, from 38,782 in 2006 to 44,228 in 2016. But in 2021, air pollution caused 8.1 million deaths worldwide, which corresponds to 12% of total deaths. Concluding, we must do something. If we are going to be the future, we must start changing this now. We actually don't know if the future is going to exist. The world is worse than ever. This discussion is old. Like Aristotle once said, nature does nothing in vain. And if we are receiving floods, deaths, disparate changes, nature is trying to alert us. Well, this is my message. Thank you. But the final question here is I talked about a lot of problems that we know about our environment, but you know about the solutions. Maybe you can think and you can maybe use and apply for your daily routine.
Muito obrigado, Suria, pelo discurso. E agora vamos à pergunta da jurada Adriana.
Hi, Suria. Thanks for your speech. It's a pleasure to talk to you. In your speech, you talked about future generations, and human activities. In your opinion, what role do both young people and more experienced people play in protecting the environment?
Well, thank you for your question first. I think we are young. We have now a lot of things like internet, Instagram, TikTok. We can use this to influence for right things. We can use this to make people think, to make people create their own mind. Like we are having all of this, and sometimes we don't pay attention. We don't pay attention at social medias, at a lot of magazines and something like that. And we usually do videos, posts, take photos, take pictures, and we can use our social media for good thing. And for the experienced people, I think sometimes we need to broke some aspects that were created in the past, like experienced people maybe are older than us. So we need to get together and try to solve these problems because they are real. They are happening now in front of us, and we are just okay with this. And the end of the world is happening, and we're like watching TikTok, and it's not like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Adriana, pela pergunta. Agora vamos à segunda pergunta com a jurada Débora.
Hello, Suria. Good evening. You were talking about solutions and asking us a question at the end of your speech. So my question to you is about individual actions. How do you think individual actions collectively impact against climate change?
Well, thank you for the question. And first, some solutions we can't do, like industrial techniques to solve problems related to environment, but we can do simple things in our home. Well, we have the recycle, the trash cans, like in the street, and we can use this to put metal, organic, glass trash, recycling. So we can use this. I saw a lot of houses with solar energy that it's very good because of the high temperatures nowadays. Could be a good option, but I know that it's not for everyone. It's a very expensive energy. But I think simple things like turn off the lights when you get out of your home, recycling, reusing materials. Like every time I do group work at my school, or I need to do like a drawing, take a picture or something like that, or I use reuse materials like paper. We can use plastic. We can use all of this that can help us in daily, and it's so easy. And like you said, collective activities. I'm gonna say about this now. If everyone do a little, we can change in like 1 year. Because if everyone get this responsibility to recycle and to reuse, our world is getting better in the future in like 1 year because everyone's doing together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Suria. Obrigado, Débora, pela pergunta. E agora vamos à nossa sequência da noite. Lembrando também que os candidatos da categoria 8 podem fazer perguntas entre si aqui. Basta sinalizar aqui no nosso chat na plataforma interna, ok? Bom, então, seguindo aqui a nossa ordem de apresentação, gostaria de chamar ao palco do Your Voice Louisa Cipriano da Silveira.
Hi, can you listen?
Hi, Louisa. Tudo certo, ouvindo você. Luísa, fique à vontade, pode começar o seu discurso.
Tá bem, obrigada. Hi, my name is Louisa, and today I'm going to be talking about climate change. We all know the world environment has been changing, especially in the last few years with the heat wave that has been affecting us. But why should we be concerned? How does climate change affect us, and what will future generations have to endure because of our actions? Well, global warming is the biggest cause for climate change in our planet. Over time, this phenomenon has been intensifying and increasingly worrying society. This subject is not only relevant because it affects us today, but because its consequences will be felt even more by future generations. Understanding this phenomenon can help us realize how we can help them. Well, global warming is caused by the greenhouse effect, a natural phenomenon responsible for maintaining heat on Earth, which, differently from what people might believe, is actually really important to the planet because without it, Earth would be too cold to support ecosystems and biodiversity. However, human actions have disrupted this natural balance. The increase in the emission of gases causes modifications in heat exchange. This change is strongly related to human actions like burning trees and deforestation, which are the main sources of these gases. Trees purify the air and help the functioning of our lives. Therefore, deforestation ends up greatly harming our planet. Among the big forests in the world, the Amazon rainforest is the one that suffers the most. A little while ago, several cities in Brazil were covered by fog. Because of the fires that have been attacking that forest. The destruction of the forest affects the quantity of rains and the humidity of our planet. Another cause for global warming is the incorrect disposal of waste, which is related to the fact that we consume too much. As we buy and throw away more and more products, we create a demand for more deforestation, for more raw materials to be extracted from the earth, which leads to deforestation. When we don't recycle, we generate a huge environmental impact. So, a way that we can help the world as citizens is by recycling. It is also important to talk about the consequences of what happens when we don't take care of our planet. With the heat wave that has been affecting us, several polar caps have been melting. That causes a change in the course of water in rivers and oceans, and the consequent sea level rise. Well, what can we do about this? How can I, as a citizen, help the environment? As said before, one of the ways is by recycling materials like paper, metal, glass, and plastic, which is something simple that everyone should already be doing. Another simple way is by using eco bags instead of plastic bags when we go shopping. And not only eco bags, we can shift bottles and containers to metal instead of disposable plastic, for example. On a larger scale, government and industries need to shift towards renewable energy sources, such as wind, solar, and hydroelectric power. Another way the government can help is by investing in public transportation to reduce the emission of dioxide carbon. Especially here in Brazil, we don't have that many sustainable means of transportation, such as subways, for example. At least in my city, we only have buses and cars, and bicycles are not really used by many people. Another way the government can help that does not take a lot of resources is by educating and creating an awareness campaigns, which is really easy now with the internet to generate campaigns and contribute to this cause. This can help people understand the importance of sustainable practices and how they can contribute to the fight against climate change, the global challenge that requires collective action. I believe that if we work together towards a brighter future, we'll be able to create a better environment for the future generations to live in. Thank you so much for your attention.
Muito obrigado, Luísa, pelo seu discurso. Agora vamos à primeira pergunta com a jurada Débora.
Hi, Louisa. Good evening.
Hi.
You were mentioning a few things the government can do, right, to help solve the climate crisis. And my question to you is, how can we citizens hold our governments responsible for the changes they are trying to implement?
Thank you for your question. Well, I think it's important to have in mind that governments don't really put this matter into as a priority. So it's really important for them to do that. And a way we can like pressure them into taking this matter more seriously is by creating campaigns and manifestations online, which is, as I said, easier now with the internet and social medias such as Instagram, for example.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Débora. Agora gostaria de chamar a Adriana para a segunda pergunta.
Hi, Louisa. Thanks for your speech. You've just mentioned awareness campaigns. So I'd like to know what do you think about the role of families and schools in shaping environmental issues? Sorry, environmental values. What role does what role does the school play and what role do families play in shaping environmental values?
Thank you for your question. I think that families, like my family, since I've been like 3, 4, we have been saving energy by turning off lights. And I think it's really important to keep the child in touch with nature for them to understand what are they losing by um, making practices that aren't sustainable. So in schools, my school, I've been in my school for like 10 years, and I think this matter has lost its value there because when I was there, they taught the 3 R's: reduce, recycle, and reuse, which is something that I don't really see now in schools. And I think schools should put more like classes with again in touch with nature and create interactive things for the kids to do with nature.
Thank you, Louisa.
Obrigado, Luísa. Obrigado, Adriana. E dando sequência às nossas apresentações da noite, gostaria de chamar Júlia Andrade Soares.
Hello.
Oi, Júlia, tudo bem? Ouvindo?
Tô
Tudo
ouvindo, tudo
certo?
certo.
Júlia, pode começar o seu discurso. Boa sorte.
Obrigada. Today, the global climate landscape is not only a cause for concern, but demands an urgent and vigorous response. We are living in a time when human impact on the planet has become unsustainable, resulting not only in global warming, but in a complex web of imbalances that affect all Earth's ecosystems. This problem is no longer distant or theoretical, but a tangible reality experienced by billions worldwide. What led us here? The relentless exploration of natural resources, widespread deforestation, and unchecked industrialization over the centuries. Human activities have generated such a deep imbalance that the planet is now struggling to maintain its own regenerative systems. The consequences of human inertia are increasingly visible. From hurricanes to intensifying tropical storms, extreme weather events are more frequent and unpredictable. Our forests, essential sources of oxygen and biodiversity, are disappearing at an alarming rate, along with species and culture that depends on these ecosystems. Record temperatures in turn lead to prolonged droughts in some areas and torrential rains in others, intensifying the risks to food and water security. We are literally exhausting the planet and with it, our means of survival. One example of this destructive impact can be seen in coastal areas, where rising sea levels threaten to displace millions of people. Imagine entire communities being erased from the edges of continents, swallowed by the ocean. This is not only an environmental loss, but also a social and cultural one. Without an action, places rich in history and identity today may be just a memory in a few decades. And this is echoed worldwide, where unique ecosystems are threatened by unrestrained human expansion. The problem is that many government initiatives are insufficient given the urgent this issue demands. The documentary Before the Flood illustrates this situation well. In it, leaders discuss strategies, but practical actions often fall short of promises. Emissions continue emissions continue at alarming levels, and the transition to clean energy still face economic and political barriers. It is as if a veil obscures the reality. We know that fire is there, but we are hesitant to use the resources needed to extinguish it. We must take a break away from the hesitant stance. Transitioning to a green, sustainable economy is not just a moral commitment, but a practical necessity to secure the future of life on Earth. Promoting clean technologies such as solar wind and carbon captures should be encouraged and adopted on a large scale. Companies have a critical role in this transition and must be held accountable for their environmental impacts. They must adapt to their practices and prioritize sustainability in their operations. But responsibility does not rest solely on the big corporations and governments. Each of us, in our daily choices, has the power to influence the planet's future. Conscientious consumption, waste reduction, and seeking sustainable transportation alternatives are small yet significant contributions. Environmental education is a key element in strengthening this collective awareness, empowering new generations to make more sustainable decisions. We are at decisive moments in our history. Fighting climate change requires more than technological innovation. It requires a shift in mindset, a new way of relating to the environment. We need to encourage to act now with the seriousness and purpose to ensure we leave a positive legacy for future generations. It is indeed possible to reverse the scenario, but for that, we all need to work together, taking collective responsibility for preserving our shared home. Only through unity among individuals, companies, and governments we can transform this crisis into an opportunity to build a healthier, more balanced planet. And one day, we may look back and be proud to have been the generation that made the right decision and acted with determination for Earth and all in inhabitants. Thank you. This.
Muito obrigado, Júlia, pelo seu discurso. Agora eu gostaria de chamar o candidato Chago Andrade, que fará uma pergunta, a primeira pergunta da rodada.
Hello, Julia. Do you think is it still possible to revert climate crisis?
Hello, Thiago. Thanks for the question. I think it is possible, and the time to act is now because it's getting very hard to invert the situation. Uh, we can see the reflection of the consequence in our earth. We are seeing hurricanes and a lot of destruction because of this. So I think we can do and we must do because our earth is our home and without it we can live.
Okay, thank you.
Muito obrigado, Tiago, pela pergunta. Vamos à segunda pergunta para a Júlia, da nossa jurada Adriana.
Hi, Julia. Good evening. Thanks for your speech. In your speech, you mentioned the need to transition to a green economy. In your opinion, what challenges do countries face in transitioning to a green economy? Would you like me to repeat the question?
Thanks for the question. Hi. I think
Sure.
the matter that they have to handle is because I'm sorry, I think the internet is a little low. That's why I think. But I understood the question. It's fine. Um, I think the the economic part is important too, and the countries have to contribute a lot to change the energies to a green energy, a sustainable energy. So I think the energy that can be more sustainable for the world are very expensive, more expensive than the others. So I think this is the principal matter that affects all the countries to change the energy to a sustainable and green energy.
Thank you, Julia.
Obrigado, Adriano. Muito obrigado, Júlia, pelo seu discurso. E dando sequência às apresentações, vamos ao nosso quinto candidato. Por favor, Tiago Silva Ferreira de Andrade. Venha ao palco do Your Voice. Tiago, está
Consegue me
ouvindo?
ouvir? Tudo bem?
Sim, tudo certo. Tiago, pode começar o seu discurso. Bora lá.
We are the first generation to feel the impacts of climate change, and the last generation who can do something about it. This quote is too thought-provoking to be mine. It was said by the ex-president of USA, Barack Obama. Anyway, it's completely true. We really are the first human beings in history who are seeing and feeling the impacts of climate change. Some years ago, during the 80s and 90s, this was considered only a utopian and somehow a political topic. Everyone used to say something like that. It's never gonna happen. It's hilarious. However, there are more and more boiling hot days all around the planet, and there are many factors which can spoil this natural stability. Let's begin with deforestation. You know, that friendly activity where we chop down entire forests just to create some farmland. Not only are we waving goodbye to beautiful trees and adorable creatures, but we're also saying, hello, carbon emissions. Long time no see. Add in the cattle that graze on these new pastures, happily emitting methane, and you've got yourself the perfect recipe for global warming. In addition, there's the fossil fuel party. Burning coal and petroleum to keep the lights on and charge your phone still generates most of the world's electricity. But here's the unreal. According to the United Nations, only about 25% of electricity worldwide comes from renewable sources, such as wind, solar energy, and other, as I call them, eco-friendly superstars. So while the planet heats up, renewable energy is still out there saying, hey, I'll just be here if you need me. Now you might be thinking, who pays all this price? Apparently everybody. Although developing countries and low-income communities are much more impacted. But how? Here's the true reality. Poor nations just don't have infrastructure. Things like flood barriers, emergency systems, advanced healthcare that wealthier countries have and can use when the climate hits hard. Why, let's be real. Centuries of European imperialism in Asia and Africa played a huge role in this. Back in the days of Industrial Revolution, their resources were stolen, right? Promoting Europe's growth while leaving these nations struggling to catch up. Bringing it closer to people, low income communities are even more exposed. Without any political power or strong representation given to them, their voices just don't get heard, and too often their needs are ignored. It's like if a blind eye is turned to them, you know? Now, you might be thinking and asking another question. So, what can be done? What can we do to help these people? Although I'm not here to give you tips on how we citizens can confront the climate crisis, we already know them, right? Making sustainable choices, for instance. We have learned all of these at school. And I assume that all of you have been doing your sustainable chores, okay? By the way, let's talk about something that sounds all corporate, but is actually pretty cool. The corporate social responsibility, or the CSR. Imagine a world where companies make money and help other people. Something crazy, right, nowadays. CSR is about businesses doing good things for people and for the environment, and not just thinking about their profits. And this idea is built on four main pillars: environmental responsibility, ethical practices, giving back to communities, which is the philanthropic one, and ensuring financial sustainability. Finally, since this idea of CSR is kind of recent, I have one last question for you. Do you think it will really work in our society and benefit the planet? Reflect on this. Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Tiago, pelo seu discurso. E agora vamos à primeira pergunta da jurada Débora.
Hello, Chago. Good evening.
Hello.
Can you give me examples of how climate change exacerbates the existing social inequalities and how what can be done to address this?
Okay, thanks for the question. If we take a look at the history and understand the Industrial Revolution, we'll see that have been many of social inequalities during that period. While the nations were growing up, people, the workers, were earning much less, were earning not so much money, and this promoted social inequality during the time. And nowadays, what can we do to invert the situation? Is, as I mentioned, the CSR. However, it's something difficult because many company owners really don't want to spend their money with their workers properly. If we incentivize them in this idea, they may be change their mind.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Débora. Agora vamos à segunda pergunta com a Adriana Gouveia.
Hi, Chago. Good evening. Thanks for your speech. You started your speech with a quote from former US President Barack Obama. I'd like to know what made you choose this quote for your speech.
Thanks for the question. And this quote, while I was preparing my speech, I was searching for something that might make an impact on somebody who's listening my speech. And when I read this quote, I really find it like with simple words. It's made of simple words, but if you stop to think about the weight that each word takes, you can think about many things inside this only one quote.
Thank you, Chago.
Obrigado, Tiago. Muito obrigado, Adriana. E agora a nossa próxima candidata da noite, Júlia Lucena.
Hi, good night.
Oi, Júlia. Boa noite, tudo bem? Júlia, fique à vontade. Pode começar o seu discurso. Boa sorte.
Thanks. can you hear the cry? I'm sure you can. And it's getting louder and louder. If we look at our planet's temperature, it will tell us that the Earth has a fever. And it's sick, just like anyone who's sick. But are we listening to this pain? In a speech, Pope Francis used an unusual conception to catch people's attention on the environmental catastrophes and its victims. The concept, which is known as the cry of the earth, reflects the urgency of our planet's sickness. The one sickness that was first and foremost meticulously architected by its own inhabitant, human species. How would you feel if all of a sudden someone from your own family pulled a hammer and started breaking your house's wall? Well, that's exactly what we have been doing for centuries, destroying our one and only home. Whole neighborhoods are submerged in floods. Families' entirely histories are being burned in wildfires. And as I see this, my hope slowly vanishes and fear grows as a threatening future is coming across us. The consumerist society leads us to see Earth as the source of all power and profits, as if it was any piece of dry land which was exclusively there for us to exploit. But back in 1854, Chief Seattle, a Suquamish chief, wrote a letter destined to Washington in order to refuse proposals to buy his tribe's land. In the letter, which is known as one of the biggest manifestos for the environment, he wonders, how can you buy or sell the sky, the earth, if we do not own the freshness of the air and the sparkle of water? How can you buy them? As we bought and sell the earths of the ones who believe, saw, and felt earth as an equal living being, our ambitions became the main destroyer of other species. On the other hand, the further you are from a problem, the further you'll be from solving it. And well, it's pretty clear that the main solutions of this mess that we got our planet in are way too distant to actually happen. The ones who got the real power to change things won't get out of their bubble and opt saving the world over getting money. The big industries couldn't care less about their environmental impact as long as they're making a profit. But the point is, if we want to change something, we must firstly identify the culprits of this destruction, and then, once we've done it, we change the way on how they have impact on us. So, first step, conscious consumption. Researchers say that the actual amount of clothes that we have on Earth are enough to supply the next 5 generations of human beings. For one pair of jeans, 11,000 liters of water are needed. Have you ever heard about underconsumption core? It's simple. If it's not over yet, you don't need to buy another one. And if you can still use it, you don't need to replace it by something that is just like it. So when you're shopping, just keep these two principles in mind and you'll be on the good road. Second step, attention to what you're eating for dinner. Are you aware of the amount of earth poisoning, animal mistreating, and wildfires that agribusiness put into producing the meat and vegetables that you eat? Open your eyes to question what the food market is selling you and support small producers who respect earth and animals on their production cycle. And third step, keep observing. Look around and question what's surrounding you. Do not let yourself be influenced by the environmental unconscious governments and industries. Make your choices and engage your community. Don't go by a path of becoming an actor on this destruction. And well, even some might say that it is already too late to change things. Remember, hope is like the sun. If you only believe in it when you can see it, you'll never make it through the night. Thanks for the attention.
Muito obrigado, Júlia, pelo discurso. Agora vamos à primeira pergunta com a jurada Adriana.
Hi, Julia. Thanks for your speech. In your speech, you talked about how much we consume. Uh, in your opinion, how can we cultivate a more sustainable consumption model?
Well, thanks for the question, firstly. Once I have done an experience of for 1 week collecting the much trash that I would make, the inorganic, which was the one that would go to recycle trash, and it was just impressing. Because firstly, I think we should stop and really understand how much we as individuals make. Not trash, we can say, not just as, I don't know, a banana that has a leftover, or maybe a plastic thing that we got on the supermarket, but everything that we produce, the water that we use for bath, and it's just so much. Well, I think that we should firstly think of how the companies make us buy the products about their looks. You don't need to buy a toothbrush that has a box inside, and inside the box you have something on plastic that is wrapping the toothbrush. Firstly, like, go on, for example, there is soap, shampoos, like bar conditioners. Firstly, like, discard all the unnecessary packages. And also, I think that when you're going to buy something, just think, do I really need this? Like, think of how I will use this, and then where will it go? That's the main question. Because if I think, okay, I will throw it away, there is no, like, throwing away of the earth. It would always be inside it. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Julia.
Obrigado, Adriana, pela pergunta. Vamos à segunda pergunta com a Débora Bonifácio.
Good evening, Julia. You talked about a letter from an indigenous tribe in your speech, so I would like to hear from you what lessons you think we can learn from indigenous knowledge and practices to combat climate change they might have.
Well, thanks for the question. That one topic is really special for me because I do believe that the main the main thing that got our planet in today's situation is because since the beginning of industry revolution, and when we became to construct things, we never saw Earth as an equal living being, you know. And the indigenous, they all, not generalizing, but I think they all have some sort of connectation that we all had since we were born, but we got lost because they see, like, they feel Earth as an equal living being. There is a hypothesis, which is Gaia hypothesis, I think, that say that Earth is like our body, is a whole system of living things. We breathe, we produce water and everything. So I think we can learn from them that even though we are stepping on Earth, we build things on it, and from it, we still need to see this as a sister. Don't ever do anything to the earth or to your brothers that you wouldn't like to be done to yourself. Treat earth as it is suffering the same things that you are. Respect it and treat it like someone from your own kind. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Júlia. Obrigado, Débora. E agora, dando sequência às nossas apresentações, a nossa sétima candidata da categoria 8, Elena May Neves.
Oi,
Olá,
consegue me
Helena.
ouvir?
Sim, estou ouvindo você bem. Então pode começar o seu discurso. Boa sorte.
Okay, obrigada. Good evening, everyone. And first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity. I am honored to be here. I'm Elena May from Cultura Inglesa in Indaiatuba, and I, as well as everyone, am here to talk about the climate crisis. When I was younger, I used to like the movie WALL-E a lot. The almost dreamy visuals, his adorable pet cockroach, the funny technology-addicted people, and his sad little eyes captivated my attention as such a beautiful movie about robots and love. Growing up, I now realize that the context in which the piece takes place is just as important as the love story between the two characters, and as time passes, I fear more and more for how accurate this 2008 Disney animation becomes. Climate crisis is a complex and very real theme, so let's start from the beginning. Doing a quick search, it is easy to find that Google defines it as the term that describes global warming and its impacts. followed by a number of possibilities of how we can fight it and what can you do to contribute to help the environment. But can you? Study shows that while 85% of the world's carbon dioxide emitters are industries, transports, and power generators, only 6% of them are residential users, meaning us. Every year, the temperature rises approximately 0.18 degrees Celsius. Every year, a new campaign appears claiming we need to take shorter showers, recycle, and avoid using electricity when it's sunny outside. And every year, we follow these instructions, feeling good about how much we help to save the environment. And yet, at the same time, a multinational company produces as much pollution as it will ever produce in a lifetime. Talking about the climate crisis is more than just talking about doing your part and expecting everyone else to make a difference. It is understanding why it is happening, to know what we can really do to stop it, from the root of the problem, not from its leaves. Going back in time, the evolution of the human being has been marked with the discovery of new technology. Technology that improved our way of life and our view of the world around us. Technology that helped us to survive with more practicality and comfort, but everything comes with a price. This technology had to come from somewhere, and the need to live with the best kind of lifestyle influenced the need to produce. Our economic model encourages a cycle of production and consumption that depletes resources and generates pollution at an unsustainable rate. Instead of prioritizing sustainability and equity, capitalism prioritizes profit. Above all, that's what we need to fight. Greta Thunberg once said, "The climate crisis is both the easiest and the hardest issue we have ever faced. The easiest because we know what we must do. We must stop the emission of greenhouse gases. The hardest because our current economics are still totally dependent on burning fossil fuels and thereby destroying ecosystems in order to create everlasting economic growth." But acknowledging capitalism's role in the climate crisis is not about assigning blame or disparaging the concepts of markets and entrepreneurship. It is a call to rethink and reshape our economic systems. We must consider how we can transition to models that prioritize long-term well-being over short-term profits. Climate crisis is a profound challenge that necessitates a critical examination of the systems driving it. Capitalism in its current form, it is a key factor of this crisis. However, by confronting these truths and working towards systematic change, we have the power to forge a new path. A path where economic activity and environmental stewardship are not at odds, but are mutually reinforcing. Our generation is dealing with the consequences of the actions of other generations before us. It is up to us to correct the mistakes they made, not regarding the past, but looking out for the future. A future when we can live without having to care whether there will be a tomorrow or not. A future for our older selves, for the next generations. Together, we can build a future where prosperity and sustainability go hand in hand. Together, we can be the difference. Thank you.
Obrigado, Helena. Agora vamos à primeira pergunta com a nossa jurada, Débora.
Hello, Elena.
Hello, good evening.
You talked about how technology has impacted our planet, and I would like to know from you if you know any type of innovative technology that can show any promises in terms of mitigating climate crisis.
Well, there is lots of technology that promises this improvement of the environment, but whether it is going to improve, like help the environment to get better and wealthier, it is not an easy answer because we have to see and watch these technologies that the promises they made, and we have to watch them and we have to understand if it's working and if it's not working and see how it impacts the environment itself. So I don't know of any technology. So
Thank you.
Obrigado, Débora. Agora vamos à segunda pergunta com a Adriana.
Hi, Elena.
hello.
Thanks for your speech. In your speech, you talked about capitalism and consumerism. In your opinion, what are some of the psychological and social factors that drive consumer behavior, and what could perhaps be done in relation to it?
Well, capitalism is very much about consumerism and influencing it to go on. So, shoving lots of commercials in our faces with lots of colors and lots of um, materials that makes us want to buy. It is a very propaganda style that influences our need to consume, and it is shoved in our faces every day. McDonald's and every multinational company, it really needs to show the attract, like what attracts us. And I believe that maybe understanding that, having the education to understand that these propagandas are not actually all true and are there only to make you consume. And understanding that and getting why you need to consume, and rethinking why we need to consume, rethinking how are we needing to consume, and what are we consuming, we have this power to make the difference.
Thank you, Elena.
Thank you so much.
Muito obrigado, Adriana. Obrigado, Helena, pelo discurso e pelas respostas. Agora vamos à última candidata da noite. Então, gostaria de chamar a nossa oitava e última da categoria 8 e última da noite também, Bianca Rocha, para apresentar o seu discurso. Bianca, está ouvindo?
Estou ouvindo. Você está me ouvindo?
Sim, áudio tudo certo. Então, Bianca, pode começar o seu discurso. Boa sorte.
Ok, obrigada. Hello everyone, my name is Bianca and I'd like a bit of your attention. Do you know what a refugee is? According to the Cambridge Dictionary, a refugee is defined as someone who has escaped from their own country due to political, religious, or economic reasons, or because of a war. Although it's used to describe people that have fled for safety, the dictionary definition of the word does not encompass the true suffering of these people. A refugee is also a person that has lost their land, their life, their hopes, dreams, and their plans for the future. You might wonder, but how does that relate to the climate crisis? Well, in 1985, Environment Program researcher Essam El-Hinawi wrote the United Nations report titled as Environmental Refugees. The terms climate refugee and environmental refugee were used for the first time by him to refer to people that were affected by human-induced climate change and therefore had to abandon their homes. When we talk about climate change, we often think of higher temperatures, polar ice melting, negative impacts on wildlife and biodiversity. Of course, these are certainly serious issues, but there's another critical aspect that doesn't get enough attention, and that is climate-induced displacement. We watch the news and think, wow, these are terribly alarming signs, we're doomed. But the direct impact on people isn't always highlighted. In 2017 alone, approximately 30.6 million people were displaced across 135 countries, with 60% of these displacements attributed to climate change. 30.6 million people in a year. Behind every statistic is a person, is a family struggling to survive. These impacts may vary by region and communities, but the countries that are affected the most are those in contact with the sea, like islands. People living in coastal areas are constantly threatened by the consequences of climate change, such as rising sea levels, which may lead to flooding, climate related disasters like hurricanes and cyclones that are capable of destroying homes completely, extreme weather events like deadly heat waves and droughts that damage agricultural landscapes, higher temperature of seawater that affect food chain of fish as well as their health, their metabolism, their migration patterns, causing a lack of fish and contributing to food insecurity. Additionally, people start to fight for those scarce resources, which leads to conflicts and instability. Many climate refugees come from regions that contribute minimally to global greenhouse gas emissions, but are affected the most. A good example of this is Bangladesh. Bangladesh is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. It's estimated that by 2050, one in every seven Bangladeshis will be displaced due to climate change, and that is approximately 13.3 million people. An article published by BBC on the 7th of December in 2023 tells a bit of the story of 55-year-old Noor Alam, a Bangladeshi whose house collapsed 6 times between 1998 and 2020 due to extreme weather. Each disaster, his children experienced the trauma of displacement and were left without permanent sanitation facilities and a reliable source of drinking water. Unfortunately, people that suffer from the environmental impacts are victims of the government's political actions, and yet aren't legally recognized as refugees, so they do not qualify for protection under international law. As a global community, we have a moral obligation to assist those who are displaced by climate change. Addressing the issue of climate refugees requires a united global effort, reflecting our responsibility to tackle both climate change and its consequences. The rights of climate refugees must be upheld as part of broader human rights commitments, ensuring their dignity and their well-being are protected. In conclusion, we must not only address the immediate consequences of this crisis, but also confront its root, which is climate change itself. Thank you.
Obrigado, Bianca, pelo seu discurso. E agora vamos à primeira pergunta com a jurada Adriana.
Hello, Bianca. Thanks for your speech. Bianca, what role can technology and innovation play in mitigating the impacts of climate change and also supporting the needs of climate displaced populations?
Well, thank you for the question. Thank you for asking. For the technology part, the first thing I can think about is AI because it's something that it's been talked about a lot in the past years because it's growing a lot, and I think maybe AI, since it helps analyze things a lot more easily, I think AI should help to analyze, to predict the most vulnerable areas to climate change. For example, you could analyze some areas and see which ones are more likely to suffer from extreme weather, from for natural disasters like hurricanes and cyclones, as I said, and it wouldn't actually solve the problem, but it would maybe help reallocate these people before they lost their houses and suffered this, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca.
Muito obrigado, Adriana, pela pergunta. Vamos à segunda pergunta, que será do candidato Tiago Andrade.
Hello, Bianca. Do you think that NGOs, non-governmental organizations, are important to help the refugees of climate change?
Thank you for asking. And the answer to that is definitely yes. NGOs and shelters and every help from the government is super important to aid these people because they have nowhere to go. They don't have food. They don't have reliable sources of water. So, especially NGOs that are non-profit organizations, they would surely help a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Obrigado, Tiago, pela pergunta. Obrigado, Bianca, pelo discurso. E finalizamos aqui a categoria 8, a última categoria da noite. Finalizamos com todos os discursos e as perguntas também. E eu gostaria de parabenizar também a todos os participantes da categoria 8 por terem chegado até aqui e pelo altíssimo nível que tivemos aqui nesta noite. E, bom, agora eu vou liberar nossas juradas para que elas possam deliberar sobre as duas categorias e definir quem vai para a final. Enquanto isso, eu vou repassando aqui com vocês alguns detalhes da competição, coisas que eu já falei previamente que a gente precisa realinhar. Vamos lá. Então, primeiro, hoje serão anunciados 3 participantes por categoria que seguirão para a final. Então, são 3 da categoria 3 e 3 da categoria 8, que vai acontecer no dia 23/11, a final, que é um sábado do próximo mês. Esses 3 participantes se juntarão a 3 participantes selecionados da outra semifinal, que vai acontecer na semana que vem, e somados serão 6 participantes por categoria na grande final. Ao término da transmissão, teremos aquela oportunidade que eu comentei com vocês no início da transmissão, de uma devolutiva aos participantes que forem selecionados para a grande final. Então, quem quiser receber essa devolutiva precisa ficar aqui com a gente até o anúncio dos resultados, ok? Bom, quem não quiser receber a devolutiva não tem problema, mas ela será ofertada somente hoje, aqui ao término da sessão. Então, iremos considerar que quem não ficar aqui optou por não recebê-la, ok? Bom, todas as fases do concurso são online e você poderá sempre acompanhar aqui, da mesma forma que está acontecendo hoje. Todas as candidatas e candidatos que participaram do evento receberão um certificado de participação. Os certificados serão enviados por e-mail para vocês, no mesmo e-mail pelo qual a gente tem se comunicado desde o início da competição. Às vezes acontece do nosso e-mail ir para o lixo eletrônico, então, caso aconteça algum problema durante esse processo de envio, se vocês não receberem até o dia 10 de novembro o certificado de participação, basta entrar em contato com a sua unidade para que a gente possa providenciar o certificado, ok? Então, fiquem atentos à caixa de spam também. Aproveito para lembrar também dos super prêmios que teremos nessa edição, né? Então, na grande final, além de toda a bagagem cultural e linguística que os alunos adquirem ao longo do processo da competição, no dia 23/11 serão definidos os primeiros e segundos colocados de cada categoria. E o primeiro lugar de cada categoria vai ganhar um vale presente no valor de R$ 1.000, e o segundo colocado de cada categoria, um vale presente no valor de R$ 500, né? Muito bom, vai passar o final do ano aí, já chegando o Natal com dinheiro no bolso. E, bom, as nossas juradas ainda não voltaram, acabaram de sair aqui, então provavelmente a decisão não vai ser fácil de ser tomada, ainda mais das duas categorias. Então, enquanto elas terminam de deliberar, vamos fazer uma pequena pausa aqui, então, para vocês beberem água, esticar as pernas, mas não precisa nem desconectar aqui do YouTube, tá? Podem deixar rolando, deixa tudo ligado aqui, e a gente vai retornar com a transmissão por volta de 10, 15 minutos. Então, deixem tudo ligado aqui que a gente já volta dentro de alguns instantes, ok? Então, até daqui a pouco, pessoal. Estamos de volta finalmente com o resultado da noite, né? Essa noite de altíssimo nível. E quem vai falar o resultado da noite aqui são as nossas juradas. Então, eu gostaria de chamar primeiro a Adriana para nos dizer. Adriana, conta aí.
Oi, pessoal, boa noite. Primeiramente, quero dizer que é sempre um prazer estar participando do Your Voice. Tenho certeza que todos vocês, assim como eu, aprenderam muito com os discursos, com o grau de qualidade, né, como o João falou, de todos os discursos. Então, é sempre um prazer. Quero dar os parabéns a todos vocês que participaram, primeiramente por terem decidido se inscrever nesse concurso e depois por todo o empenho, pelo desempenho de vocês, pela dedicação. A gente sabe que não é fácil, né, gente? Falar em público nunca é fácil. E aqui vocês estão falando em público, em inglês, ao vivo, está sendo transmitido e participando de uma competição de altíssimo nível. Então, assim, vocês estão mais do que parabéns, todos vocês, pelo empenho, pela dedicação e pelo grau, realmente o grau aí do discurso de todos vocês. Como eu falei, tenho certeza que todo mundo aprendeu muito e tenho certeza que vocês que estão participando saem dessa competição muito bem preparados e levando essas habilidades que vocês desenvolveram para a vida de vocês, porque a gente sabe que para participar de uma competição como essa são muitas habilidades necessárias. Tenho certeza que vocês vão levar isso para a vida de vocês. Então, parabéns a todos que participaram, tá? E, gente, estou aqui ficando nervosa. Vamos aí ao momento que está todo mundo esperando. Estou nervosa também. E eu vou começar falando da categoria 3, tá? Os nomes que eu falar aqui são dos participantes que já têm a sua vaga garantida na final. Então, quem eu falar o nome aqui tem a vaga garantida na final. Eu vou falar em ordem aleatória, tá? Não é ordem de nota, nem nada disso. É realmente uma ordem aleatória. Então, vamos lá, gente. Categoria 3, quem tem a vaga garantida na final. Primeiro nome, Maria Fernanda de Souza. Maria Fernanda, parabéns. Vaga garantida. Segundo nome, Isabella Veloso. Isabela, parabéns. E terceiro, que está garantido aí na final, é a Maria Luísa da Silva. Então, Maria Fernanda, Isabela e Maria Luísa, parabéns para vocês. Vocês estão com a vaga garantida na final e parabéns para todo mundo que participou. Tá? Muito obrigada de vocês pelo empenho, pelo desempenho. Aprendemos muito com todos vocês. E agora eu vou chamar a Débora para falar da categoria 8. Débora?
Boa noite, pessoal. Acho que não tenho muito a acrescentar após essa linda fala da Adriana. Ela já cobriu tudo em questão de dar os parabéns a todos, de reconhecer os desafios de se fazer um discurso em outra língua, em falar em público, que também não é fácil, independentemente da língua. Então, vou me adiantar um pouquinho e já vou lançar os nomes dos candidatos da categoria 8 que garantiram a sua vaga para a final do Your Voice deste ano, ok? Assim como a Adriana, não vou falar os candidatos por ordem ou alfabética ou por melhores notas, vou falar aleatoriamente, mas já deixo aqui os parabéns para todos os participantes dessa categoria e não foi uma tarefa fácil escolher os 3 colocados. Vamos lá, então, vou começar a dizer os nomes. Tiago Silva Ferreira de Andrade, parabéns. Júlia Lucena Mandarino e Helena May Neves Uono, parabéns. Vocês estão com a vaga de vocês garantidas para o final do Your Voice, ok?
Então, é isso, já temos os nomes dos finalistas. Parabéns a todos os finalistas, que vamos nos encontrar novamente no dia 23 de novembro, sábado do próximo mês. Parabéns também a todos que participaram. do Your Voice, né? É um passo muito grande que vocês deram de participar disso daqui. Tenho certeza que esse é o primeiro passo de muitos que vocês darão. Vocês terão muito sucesso e é muito importante dar esse passo com o inglês, de falar em público, se desafiar e participar de uma competição como essa. Então, parabéns a todos e obrigado a todos que acompanharam a transmissão pelo YouTube, fizeram a torcida no chat, vocês foram muito importantes também para todos aqui, principalmente para os candidatos. E agora, os candidatos finalistas das categorias 3 e 8, que quiserem receber o feedback, deverão acessar agora, neste momento, aquele link da sala do Google Meet, onde vocês se encontraram no começo, antes do início da sessão, tá? Onde foi realizado o sorteio e tudo mais. Amanhã tem mais semifinal, às 19 horas, teremos mais discursos aqui para vocês acompanharem, com as categorias 4 e 7 do Your Voice, e os links de acesso estão lá no nosso site, que é yourvoice.culturainglesa.com.br. Então, um beijo, um abraço, até mais, pessoal. Tchau, tchau, e nos vemos em breve.